Welcome to the Honest to Goodness podcast,
where we promise to be more than honest
and point to His goodness.
Hi, ladies. Welcome back to the Honest to Goodness podcast.
Hello.
We're live from Nicole's living room once again.
We are back again. And today we are going to discuss a really interesting, fun, yet controversial topic, which is... Da-da-da.
Gossip.
Ooh, I sound like a man.
Gossip.
I did not like
That's
that.
sultry.
Rewind and cut that.
This one, I've been thinking on, and I'm like, oh my gosh, if I ever get into gossip again, I'm going to just feel so convicted. Because
I know.
here we are with the podcast on gossip. So
Nothing like holding yourself accountable, though.
yeah, I know. And actually, I've had questions about this topic that I've just honestly never brought to other Christian women. So I am going to glean a lot, I think, from this conversation, and we hope that you all do too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't even know where to begin. Do we begin with questions or more just discussion in regards to gossip in general?
You go.
Okay, I'll go. We always take a big breath at the same time. Okay, I got this. Wait, no, do I? Wait. Okay, so I was just going to say, most of my female adult life, I have been told and recognized that between the genders of men and women, there are significant sins that are very different that they struggle with. Yeah. And I think gossip is probably one of the main, large, easy to fall in sins for women.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
It's basically how we bond.
I was just going to say how we connect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the connecting factor, whether you're a believer or not, is gossip.
Yes.
But one thing I've loved about our friendship is that, well, A, you girls do hold me accountable, but B, that when you speak about people, it's so honorable that it inspires me to only speak about people in such a way. Mm-hmm. And even when I have an issue that I need to discuss or work through, I feel like, the closer I get to Jesus, the more he gives me a tender heart for them, that I can speak about them with such love.
Yeah.
We had an instance actually this week that Nicole, you and I were texting, and something was implied. No names were dropped, and I said no comment, and you said same, and we just ended the conversation there before taking it any further. And I was kind of proud of us in that moment where it was like, well, we could kind of fall into this a little bit and entertain each other and make some jokes, but we knew that we would glean nothing good from that. It would feel yucky, even if it wasn't harming anybody. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm glad, that there is, you say that between the three of us that you've recognized that we don't go there, but I know we have. Yeah. I'm sure we have gone there.
I think we probably have.
Yeah.
And so, we are far from perfect.
That's the truth.
Yeah. So I'm like, here we are just being our honest selves, just saying, hey, we don't have it figured out, but we're trying to figure it out together with you guys. So, if you guys are okay with it, I'll just start jumping into some questions. And so I have some questions written down, and so the audience knows I haven't discussed these questions beforehand with Rebecca or Tessa.
Yeah, these are all in live reactions.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so these are live.
These are live.
real. Okay, so sometimes I think it can get muddy, like the difference between caution versus gossip. So in regards to warning a friend about a group of people or a person. So I wanted to get you guys' take on that. Like, what is the difference and how do we know when we should say something? If we should ever say something, if we are aware of maybe, say, Rebecca, you became friends with this person that I know can be a certain type of way and has done X, Y, and Z in the past that have been harmful or hurtful. Is it my responsibility to have that conversation with you as a really good friend or not?
That's a really good question.
Well, I also want to say that we might not have the answer.
Yeah.
So this is open dialogue because
We're just going to chat.
I think the best kind of dialogue is honest and humble, but also thorough. So if you first, whenever you don't know, I would recommend praying over it and seeing if the Lord leads you. And if you fear that a dynamic or a relationship between someone you care about, like a friend, may be affected negatively by somebody who isn't rooted in the Lord, or maybe is, but is just making poor choices with their life, I would say approach it cautiously and approach it thoroughly. So first explain your heart, that without explaining any backstory. You know what I mean? Because one person's experience might be different from another's.
I think one of my biggest pet peeves with people is, I think this happens a lot in the church setting, in my opinion, is like, for example, years ago, I had somebody that was a close friend of mine, and like they had been a part of, like the church family that I'm in now for a long time. And, I had shared with her like, hey, I'm getting together with so-and-so. I'm super excited. I haven't really connected with this person. And, this friend of mine just like kind of went like, well, let me, caution you, and, blah, like all telling me all this stuff about this person I was getting to connect with. And I was super excited about it. And it really just like dampened and dulled my perception of the person that I was meeting. And I thought, that's really a shame that I didn't get to have my own experience with this person. And I had to take on somebody else's hurt. And I think that's what gossip does a lot of times, is it is through the lens and through the perspective of somebody's hurt, through somebody's pain, through somebody's own trauma with that. And that's their deal. And I think that happens so often, and we do have to use discernment. Like, am I sharing this because it's going to benefit the other person, or because, they really need to know this about this person because for whatever reason. And again, you need to go to the Lord with that and ask him. Or would I just be sharing this to make myself feel better so that they don't connect with that person because of my own experience and my own hurt? And I think that's often what happens.
That's so good, Tessa. And one thing I love about you is you never hold things against people that you hear about them. Yeah. You always give everyone a fair chance. And so I just, again.
Thank you. I try.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, I agree with both of you girls. I think we have to use discernment, and I can tell in my spirit when I feel like people are telling me things, kind of like what you said, Tessa, where it's more so I don't become friends with them, or, where the intention is out of alignment with what God wants. Yeah. And so, and like you said, Rebecca, it's grace upon grace for people. And I hope people have that grace for me, because I haven't always been perfect. I haven't always been a wonderful friend.
You haven't?
I know, it's so hard to believe. So, okay, girls, this I feel like is socially acceptable in society. And afterwards, it's like, okay, I just needed to vent. But is venting necessary? And that includes, and I have to say, if I vent, it's mostly to my husband. Yeah. Because I'm like, okay, he's literally not going to tell anybody.
And he doesn't care.
And he really doesn't care. But I'm like, is venting necessary? Yes or no?
Short answer, no. Not to anybody but the Lord.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say mentally, yes, but it depends on who it's to. And I think that the only safe person to vent about your frustrations and your discouragement is God himself.
Yeah.
And he actually wants to be that
Yeah.
person
Yeah.
for you. So that's not everybody else's role. Like,
Right.
I think your spouse, perhaps, although that can weigh on a marriage too. And your spouse is a safe place, and the Lord is like ironclad, like a locked box. And he's the only one who can really help you with it too.
I was just going to say, I had an example recently where I was super convicted of, I was this close. I had a situation with a friend where I was like, I was really annoyed with a situation that was unfolding. And I wanted to so badly text you guys and literally just vent. And, the Lord convicted me, and he stopped me right then and there. And he's like, why don't you just exactly what you would tell your friends, just tell me. And so I went on a walk, like you guys know I love to do. And I went on a walk, and I literally just started venting. And I was like telling him this and that, and why I was upset, and what was making me frustrated, and how I wish things would change, and then the Lord was like, well, how should you be praying through the situation? So if you were talking to a friend, how would you tell them to pray? And so then I just started praying, okay, how would I want the situation to change? How would I want this, like, how would I tell a friend how to pray? And then I just started praying in that way. And I'm not even kidding you. I came out of that walk and I was like, I'm good now. I'm good. I don't need to share this with my friends, and I don't even need to share this with my husband. Like, and it was done. And you know what happened is the minute that all unfolded, there was breakthrough in that situation. Like, I literally saw a breakthrough in that situation that I was taking to the Lord.
I am always so surprised by that too, Tessa. Just when I start praying for the people, the friends that hurt me, the people that are annoying me, whatever it is, it's like when I just take it to the Lord, it's crazy the resolution that happens. And I don't know why I'm surprised by that, but I've had countless times where I feel like I won't have to make any effort. And I'm not saying that you'll never have to make effort, but where I've had that person on the other end contact me and either apologize or reach out with some type of message where they're wanting to resolve the situation. And I'm like, wow, God, I can really count on you to fight all my battles.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a hard one for me because I'm such a people pleaser. But if you find yourself in gossip, what should you do and how should you respond? Like, how do you eliminate yourself from the conversation in a kind way? Because that, I think, is what I struggle with most, because I'm like, I just want to please everybody and make whoever I'm with feel like I agree with them, even if I'm not interjecting any comments, but just like nodding my head, whatever it is. So I'm like, okay, if you find yourself in these gossipy situations, or maybe your group of friends in general is just gossipy, how should you respond?
I don't know. As you were talking, I've realized there is one person that I always fall into this in regards, and it hadn't even occurred to me. And I'm like, okay, what have my friends done when I've pulled them into gossip and this? And the first thing that gets me to stop talking, so I'm observing it from being the gossiper, okay, is
That's so real.
is like them like saying something kind or giving a benefit of the doubt or an alternative perspective to my perspective. My daughter's really good about that. She'll call me out on it in the most gentle way, because it's very easy to offend when the reason we gossip is because we are offended. And so when you call someone out on their gossip, you're just putting offense on top of offense on top of offense. And then all of a sudden you defend yourself before recognizing the sin itself. Like the enemy wants to just make you mad at everybody. But if somebody in love points out the goodness or the kindness or the benefit of the doubt about the person you're talking about, it kind of puts a stopper on the momentum. I feel like. Also, I try when I fall into this to imagine the person I'm talking about who generally we probably all still would care about and be mortified if they heard your opinion, because you don't get offended by people that you don't care about too. Like, you know what I mean? And so I try to think, well, if they were standing here or if they were in listening, like earshot, would I still be saying this? And I would be so,
Most of the time it's a no.
yeah, no, all the time. It's
Yeah.
like a no, I wouldn't. And anything that I would say to their face, I probably have in love, you know? And so I just think it's kind of an age old thing. Like combating meanness with kindness might be a good method, you know?
100%. And then I also have this friend that has always been an amazing example to me. She never gossips and hasn't. Like, we've been friends for over 10 years now, and she's been somebody that she just never gossips. And so when I think of her and how she combats it, it's literally she just doesn't even respond. Like when I am venting to her, she just doesn't really respond. She might be like, yeah.
Does it make you feel unseen or unheard?
I think at the beginning when I was really probably like in my early 20s and like wanting that like back and forth camaraderie of like, yeah, I need somebody on my back and I need somebody like to, agree with me for the affirmation that I should feel this way. And she never gave it to me. And I didn't appreciate it until now, or not now, but like in my, later 20s, early 30s. And she just, it's just a reminder of like, oh, I need to get out of this. And so it's honestly been really good. It's been a really great model for me for when I fall into, like there are certain people in my life that I feel like I'm more prone to go into gossiping with. And it is for me really hard. Like these people are in my life and will be in my life forever. And so I can't just not be in communication with them. Right. And so, I have to kind of look through the lens of my friend who is a great model for me and be like, okay, how would she approach this situation? And so for me, that's almost like I disarm the conversation by not really responding. And not like I'm just standing there like dead face. Like I'm still obviously present in the in the conversation, but I more so don't engage. I don't I don't contribute to the conversation. And then I oftentimes will just change the subject. And so and that's kind of how I have successfully gotten out of gossip in relationships where gossip has been the focal point of the conversations, is just one, not contributing, and then changing the subject. Or like you said, like saying something kind or giving them the benefit of the doubt, or, just kind of being like, I guess we just don't really know, what sort of situation they're in right now in their life. Like maybe there is something going on, or which my mom used to do all the time, and I absolutely hated it because I'm like, Mom,
I know. You want that
I'm that
validation.
Yeah.
One response that I feel like has worked well for me, and I think is gentle and helps the person be seen, is asking that person if they feel comfortable telling the person they have an issue with.
Yeah.
And I
just did that recently.
Yeah, and the most beautiful thing came out of it.
I think it's like when somebody's coming to you and they're like, hey, this is the situation. How do you think I should handle this?
Yeah.
Like giving the facts. I think there's difference when you're like, here's what's happened. These are the facts. And you can keep your emotions and your feelings out of it, and have somebody that you look up to that maybe is a mentor to you, or somebody that's a godly figure in your life. And you can be like, how do you think I should address this situation?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's different than being like, yeah, so okay, listen to this,
Yes. Okay, so if I knew that gossip was being said about you two, should I tell you?
No.
Is it more harmful or hurtful?
Both.
Or I'm sorry. Never mind.
Both.
Is it more harmful or helpful?
I think ignorance is bliss.
I do.
I do too.
Yeah, and I think you responding to the non-intelligent person talking about us to you, because I would have to assume they don't know their audience, it would be in the same way. Like, I encourage you to speak to them about this. And yeah, I had a question. So all of the examples of gossip that we have been directly related to us as a person. But what about an observation? Let's just say siblings. We're all one of four, right? And it's almost like in this world, you feel like family is under a different line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because no matter what, you're family, and no matter what, you love each other. So everyone hears things through a filter of, this isn't ill-intended and this isn't gossip, but this is an observation maybe. But let's say your adult siblings are raising their children in ways that you don't agree with. Like, have you ever found yourself talking to your other siblings about said sibling? Like, is that gossip?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
And now, is the answer yes, you have done that, or yes, it is gossip, or both?
Yes and yes.
Okay.
Same, yes and yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would say more recently, the past couple of years, feeling extra convicted about it and removing myself from those conversations. And I feel like, even growing up, one of the main things that I feel like our family just bonded on was gossip.
Same.
It was like embedded in gossip. And honestly, I feel like there was nothing better to do.
Yeah.
And it's so sad. And so then when I became a mom, I had to think, how am I going to basically break this generational curse? Because I did not want my kids to grow up in a household where that's the only thing that we talked about was other people or
they see
each
you
other.
doing it with your siblings.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, I can do that with my siblings too.
Yes. Yep. It's so divisive. And so I think we've done an okay job. We definitely are not perfect, but yeah, I just when it comes to family dynamic, that's probably a whole different podcast in regards to just even gossip.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good.
I would say, just asking the question myself, that I would think that is one of the enemy's main divisive strategies within a family unit, because blood is thicker than water. So how do I divide them? How I make them not trust each other? How do I break this bond and this safety that they feel amongst one another? And
A couple years ago, my sisters and I, I'm one of 4 girls, and I was really proud of us. We went through a really difficult period, and we all, I think, like you guys were saying, we all struggle with gossip and amongst each other, and we have a fierce love for one another. And I think at the heart of it, there is a desire to see each other live out the best life for, that we can live. And I think we get protective of one another, and we get, there's just a lot of strong feelings. That was what was tearing apart our sisterhood. Our relationship was this, I know that you're saying stuff behind my back because I talked to my sister and, this sister, and that's what she's telling me. And so I know you guys are saying these hurtful things. And I think it is most hurtful when it's coming from the ones that you love the most.
Do you guys feel like you can be close friends with people who are avid gossipers?
I have a really hard time with it,
Same.
just to be honest.
No, I don't. I think I can try to be friends with anybody, but I don't think they would want to be friends with me after a certain point, in that I would have to address it if they wanted to continue a friendship, and that would be offensive. I think that's the root of gossip, is you don't speak truth, and the enemy doesn't want you to speak truth because you don't want to offend or you don't like confrontation. However, you're welcoming confrontation and the spirit of offense in a different space when you bring a third party into it. So it's just a lie that we're believing, that rather than directly going to the source and having a gentle back and forth question and answer situation. Like I had a moment even gosh, I'm painting myself lovely in this podcast, but I had a moment even with something that you guys shared in text about something somebody else said, and I wanted to dive into that because I was offended immediately with the two of you. However, I sat on it and I thought about it and I thought, why don't I just ask this person why this was their opinion? And so I did, and it wasn't necessarily resolved, but like that spirit of offense kind of fell off of me after I went straight to the source and I tried to have a conversation. And so it was like, I don't know, I had perspective after that. And the way that I approached it, of course, is going to be very different when you're going straight to the person who, you know, said something, whether it meant to offend you or not, which 9 times out of the 10, people didn't even realize they're doing something that hurts somebody else. And yeah, like you have to, perspective is hard sometimes when you're in your feelings, I think. Yeah.
I think should go back to that feelings episode.
Yeah, sure. I think gossip too not only comes from a place of offense, but also deflecting because of insecurity.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I noticed that a lot, like looking back on conversations that I even instigated, especially like probably 10 years ago, especially where I just felt like out of insecurity, I had to continue bringing this person up or pointing out things that were, in my opinion, flaws. So because it just made me feel better.
Well, it's like that tearing down to lift you up. It's like I've got to tear somebody down in order to make myself feel better about my life and my decisions. And
But I feel like, you know, God has done a really good job, especially in this season of the last 4 or 5 years, of protecting me from friendships where that is at the root. And it's like naturally, I don't feel like gossipers are really drawn to me. Like they don't really seek me out, and probably not because I am better or that I wouldn't engage, but I have to just give God all the glory for that and just say, God, thank you for your protection, because I don't want to fall into that. So thank you for surrounding me with women who keep me accountable, and who I can have godly conversation with. I'm not saying that all we talk about is God, but just, you know,
but life-giving
life-giving conversation, and will help me through the hard things, but also call me out when it's like, are you sure that's not gossipy? You know, and I think we all just need that. All right, girls. Well, any last words on gossip?
Where can we go to scripturally where it talks about?
I have one scripture written down, Proverbs 17:9. Whoever covers an offense seeks love, but he who repeats a matter separates close friends.
Okay, so Exodus 23:1 says, do not gossip. Proverbs 11:13 goes into how gossiping betrays confidence. Proverbs 16:28 talks about how it separates friends. Proverbs 26:20 talks about how it prolongs tension between people. Romans 1:29 goes into how people who gossip are wicked. And 1 Timothy 5:13 discusses how gossip should have no place among Christians.
Yes.
So if you want to look any of those references up, that's just a summary of what they talk about.
I actually had somebody say to me after listening to our show for the first time that she would love it if we could put the scripture that we reference in the show notes. So we might need to do that.
And I will say that to end, you know, I voice messaged you guys however many months ago, just saying that, you know, when I'm journeying with Jesus, I want to be better. And it's like I see so many times where Christians are given a bad name or reputation because of the gossiping that we do.
Yeah.
Where it's like there's so much gossip in the church or
Yeah.
amongst Christian women, and it's like it's so important to find community and women that are going to, again, hold you accountable and kind of model for you, as we've all said,
Yeah.
what it looks like to be in healthy, life-giving conversation, and what to do if you encounter gossip.
Yeah.
And I think the tools that we talked about are great. And then also back to just having the Lord pour into you every single day, like starting your day with him is the best proactive first step you can take towards any sin or struggle in your life. And he will convict you. He will make you acutely aware, and he will give you the tools to navigate others struggling with a sin and how to walk alongside them in his love and gentleness and give them the answers that Jesus would give.
Yeah. So good. So true.
So good. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in to our episode on gossip. We hope that you love it, and we pray that you feel comfortable DMing us or messaging us with any questions or comments. And we seriously love receiving just any feedback on our podcast.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right. Until next time.
See you guys.
See you later.